Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back for another Full Dry Mom video. I just finished recording number 1 in the series, and this is number 2. And I'm so excited to keep talking to you about health. You can watch them in whatever order you want. You can look for that one afterwards. I'm going to try and be a little less intense if I can in this one. But we're going to talk about some specific things like drinking raw milk. What is folic acid? Why should you be avoiding it? Oh, we could talk about cyanocobalamin. What is that? And then phytic acid. Not to be confusing. You'll get them all figured out. You'll be okay. So stay tuned.
You're watching Full Dry Mom.
Okay, let's talk about milk. So, my family drinks raw milk. We get it from heritage breed cows about 45 minutes away from where we live, from a regenerative farm. It is grass-fed and it is the best option. It is one of the things that we are so grateful for, and it is why once a week I literally drive 45 minutes one way during very specific times with glass milk jugs that I have to clean out in between, and yeah, it's just a lot, right? But it's so worth it. You know, indigenous tribes that they studied who were very healthy and free from depression and cancer, and their teeth were healthy and their babies were healthy. And they didn't die of heart disease. They inherently knew that children and moms and husbands, when they were getting ready to conceive, needed what they used to call the X factor. It was this special component in the fat of raw milk and in butter. We now know that this X factor that they figured out is actually vitamin K2. And it has to do with a process of the sun into the grass, the cow eating the grass, the cow digesting it, and making this conversion that we actually can't convert in our bodies. But they knew that if we wanted healthy babies, healthy moms and dads was where it was going to start. And then this baby was going to need to continue to eat this high fat content in the butter, especially when it was on fresh spring grass, because it was super high in this vitamin K2. And they didn't fear fats or animals. They ate lots of both of those things. And you know, it's very interesting because you start to pick up very quickly on the theme of the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so as a Christian, when you get to the bottom of all of the food distortions, crises, everything that's gone wrong, all the malevolent things that are happening, you realize, oh yeah, it's because of their pocketbook. It's because of the dollar. It's because they were not making Jesus their Lord. They were making mammon and the system of the world their Lord. So not every single thing started off with intent to harm. It wasn't all malevolent, but it was, you know, maybe, oh, we think this is going to be better for this and this and this. And then we get here and we realize, oh my goodness, it's making everyone sick. This is not better. But they don't ever backtrack because now their pocketbooks are being lined. And so that's their God. So the milk situation and so pasteurization was really just a misinformation. They thought that people were getting sick from unpasteurized milk, and let's face it, the cleanliness standards back when pasteurization was invented are nothing like they are now. And so they came up with this pasteurization and they thought that that was curing, I forget what disease it was, but it was not. It was misinformation. And so really we see this rise in people being lactose intolerant because the very enzyme that you need to digest milk is destroyed when you pasteurize milk, as well as all of the beneficial bacteria in milk that actually protect the milk from being contaminated with something that would be harmful to you. That bacteria is also destroyed. God's design for milk is so genius, it's amazing. If you've ever been in contact with raw milk, it never actually goes bad. Like that nasty grocery store milk, I'm sorry if you're drinking it, I'm sorry. Grocery store milk that's pasteurized just turns chunky and disgusting and literally goes bad at some point. That doesn't ever happen to raw milk. In fact, it literally goes from, oh, I can drink this, it's fresh, to something like kefir, or maybe it's separating into curds and whey, or like cottage cheese and whey, and then it's getting even more fermented and you can make it into cheese. And no, those are not the exact steps, because we have a lot of modern steps now, even as homesteaders, to making those different things. But it's really, really miraculous when you look at God's design. Like, okay, they didn't have refrigeration, but they could hang on to all their nutrition through putting milk into different forms, and then cheese could last indefinitely. It's so cool and it's so genius, and it really inspires you to continue to uncover what God's design was for all of the different foods that he made and he put on this planet. Because, you know, I've heard it said that some foods are actually survival foods, right? You think about like corn and wheat and how long those things can last without molding and going bad. Like, that was what civilizations survived on, especially in times of drought. You know, I think the whole way back to the Bible, Joseph needed that. Like, he needed grains to get people to survive, but that doesn't mean it's this ideal food that we should all live on and derive all of our nutrition from, right? And they certainly weren't growing any corn and spraying pesticides that cause men to be infertile and immediate cancers to spring up all over the place, right? That's not how they were growing their corn. So we've come a long way from God's design, but we're always striving to get back to the garden, right? And so milk is one of those ways. So we love the way that the cows are cared for. We love that it has a high fat content. We are not concerned. So fat in your diet does not mean fat in your body, just like cholesterol in your food doesn't mean cholesterol in your body. There are two different things. Fat in your body is caused, like I talked about the last video, when your insulin level spikes because you have too much carbs or sugar in your system. Your insulin level spikes. That spike in insulin causes your body to store fat. So if you are like modifying your diet, but you're still giving yourself these insulin spikes, that might be why people, you know, a lot of people are having a hard time losing weight, because they're not actually getting the nutrients, and then they're still giving themselves that insulin spike really high when they eat. So their body is still continuing to store fat, and they can't ever get into this fat burning mode. And then, you know, it's not, I don't feel like it's widely enough known how important it is if you want to lose weight to build muscle, not like go all out on cardio, but you really need to build muscle so that you can be burning calories while you're even resting. And so the milk thing, we talked about how it got to be with pasteurization. Well, we never realized like, hey, this isn't actually good for us. They made it illegal. It's illegal. They're realmilk.com. You can go and look up where you want to get raw milk from. Some people can actually get it right in a store. Some people have to go to a farm. But almost all of the states, except for I think we're down to 7 now, it's now legal to get raw milk. So that's a really great improvement that we are making. And I highly recommend raw milk. It is one of the most nutritious things that my kids get to eat in their day. I have kefir grains. We don't really do that very often anymore. And I have like tried making different cheeses and stuff. But for us right now, the best thing is to just buy the milk, get the milk, drink the milk. We've been doing this for 5 years now, maybe 4 years, something like that. No one has ever gotten sick from the milk. It tastes absolutely amazing. I was never a milk drinker because I thought it tasted disgusting. Our raw milk tastes so good. The cream is right on the top. Again, we're not worried about fat. We're not worried about it not being pasteurized. Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you go back to the whole demonization of butter, what was happening is they needed to figure out how to use up the byproduct of the cottonseed industry. I mean, it was actually engine lubricant, and they were trying to figure out, like, can we make this into a food that people can consume? Oh yeah, we can, but how are we going to get them to eat it? Oh, let's get some funky science going, and let's make people think that butter and fat from animals is what's causing heart disease. And then as soon as they think that, they'll never want to eat butter again. And now they can eat all of these alternative spreads that we've created, and we'll make all kinds of money taking this hazardous waste and turning it into food. So we eat butter. We eat butter in plenty, and it makes us happy, and we love it. We do not hold back on butter. We also make sure to include the best eggs we have access to. We actually can't get them anywhere fresh out here. I haven't made any good connections. Oh, you know what? We are getting them from a local store though, that they are like a locally sourced egg. So we attempt to do like maybe organic if we can, but pasture raised is one of the best things we're doing. And the research on the cholesterol in the eggs is like so good for your kids' bodies and for their brains. And so we do lots and lots of eggs. Okay, let's talk about folic acid quickly. So folic acid is what is in enriched and fortified flours. It is not found anywhere in nature. It is a fully man-made vitamin B. So back when they decided to start large mills, and it wasn't like walk my flour, like the little hen to the mill, grind it and bring the entire thing back, they started separating the hull from the inside, and they would feed the hull to the cattle. They would give that to the farmers. Farmers would buy that, and then they would eat the bread. And now there's diseases breaking out, and they realize, oh my goodness, it's because everyone's deficient in the vitamins because we've pulled all the vitamins out. Well, instead of just going, hey, error of our ways, they went, nope, we're making a lot of money selling this to farmers. Let's figure out a way to make this vitamin introduction of vitamin B and other fortifying vitamins that they put in. Vitamin B, the man-made version is called folic acid. Something like 40 to 60% of people cannot actually process that type they can't process it in their bodies. I was gonna say that type of vitamin, but it's not even that man-made thing. Go figure. Their bodies can't actually process that. So their bodies are overrun with this, clogging up their system. At the same time, a lot of those people have a hard time taking vitamin B in real form from their foods and converting it into the usable form that their body needs. It's kind of like you pull oil out of the ground, but you can't put that right in your car. You have to make this conversion till it turns to gasoline, and you put it in your car, and your car will run off of gasoline, not off of crude oil that you pull out of the ground. Well, it's the same concept with this vitamin B. Some people are not as efficient at breaking it down. So I personally had a life-changing experience with taking methylated, which means already converted into the usable form your body needs. I take methylated B vitamins, and that's a story for another time, but everyone in the world should experiment on getting pure encapsulations, littlest bottle of vitamin B, because nothing happens overnight with almost anything in life, right? But within hours, I went, oh my goodness, all this stuff, like all this stress and anxiety that I had, that I was just like, oh, you just need to get better control of your thoughts, and it's just because you're a mom, like you're fine. And I worked on externally controlling like my responses to things and staying in control that way. All of a sudden I went, oh my goodness, I'm not internally having like weird anxiety because a kid made a loud noise or because of whatever. And when I lay down to sleep at night, I'm sleeping better because my brain's doesn't have 500 racing thoughts, and I'm not leaving church and have a million conversations just kind of stuck in my head because I can't get them to go away. Well, it turns out that vitamin B helps your neurotransmitters not only form and develop a thought, but also break that thought down. So we think of building a thought in our brain, but we don't think of actually deconstructing the thought. So when these thoughts would kind of just go like stuck in my head, and I'm like, I'm over that conversation. I don't even care. Like, why do I keep thinking about this conversation? I mean, it was because I was deficient in vitamin B, and I wasn't able to deconstruct the thoughts in my brain, so they were just kind of getting stuck there. So that's been over a year that I've been on that. It has been absolutely life-changing. I'm so grateful for all the years of challenges I had before that, because they made me so tenacious with my capturing of thoughts, right? Because I just was like, it's me, it's me. I honestly think I had some level of anxiety that I wasn't even aware that I had, because, you know, a lot of times Christians are very much, you know, if you have anxiety, it's just because you need to cast all your cares, worries, and anxieties on the Lord. And there is a good portion of that that's true. So I would constantly be practicing that. But I'm telling you, like, when I first noticed that the vitamin B was making a difference, my husband went to close his tailgate window. And on the inside of me, my internal dialogue was like, brace yourself. He's going to close it and it's going to be loud, but nothing's wrong. It's okay. It's just a loud noise. And he closed it and nothing happened to me. And my thought was like, what did you need to do that to yourself for? That is so weird. Why did you need to do that? And then I went, oh, I'm actually having a fight or flight response so often to these situations around me that I know, like my brain knows you don't need to have that response to it. But just because of these levels were off in my body. So that changed almost immediately, and I'm so grateful for it. So I now avoid folic acid. And what's interesting is, you know, we make our own sourdough bread, and we do organic flour because many reasons that we do organic, but one of the newest things I learned is that all non-organic flours are fortified and enriched. They spray the crops with folic acid, which no one can digest. So I don't want that in my diet anymore. And actually what's interesting is a lot of people that think they have gluten issues, what they're realizing now is it might actually be more the folic acid than the gluten. And people who travel will talk often about, oh, going to Europe and having a plate full of spaghetti and feeling completely fine, but then coming back here and having that same plate full of spaghetti and feeling absolutely terrible and awful. Well, you're not allowed to spray your crops with folic acid in Europe, but you are here. So that would be the difference between the two and why people feel differently. And so I've been slowly experimenting with allowing us to have access to more gluten because it is an organic flour, like not needing to ferment it because it is organic and does not have folic acid sprayed on it. Which brings me to my next acid, folic acid, but now there's also phytic acid. Phytic acid is God's ingenious design for making sure that crops do not rot. So on the outside of every grain, nuts and beans, legumes, there is phytic acid, and it preserves the nutrition on the inside of that seed that we also eat, so that when it's placed in the ground and it's soaked, the phytic acid, it breaks open and all the nutrition on the inside of that is still good and a plant can still grow. The other thing though that phytic acid does in our bodies is it blocks our absorption of nutrients. Our kids call it phytic acid the nutrient ninja blocker. And so things like oatmeal are really high in phytic acid, and then, you know, grains when they're not fermented. So sourdough is a great solution because it's going to break down the phytic acid. It's going to partially digest the gluten, and so that makes it easier on your body and not as heavy. So that's why we choose to do those things. And then I go back and forth with soaking oats because no one likes the way they taste when I soak them. So I just try to not do it as often because I know that, hey, it's going to block your body's ability to absorb these other nutrients. So there's a little bit about those things and about grains. And you know, I don't totally worry about phytic acid that much anymore, but when my daughter was in that season of having to restore her gut health, I paid very good attention to it. I read a book, I can put it in the notes, about tooth restoration, and they talked a lot about that. So we didn't do any grains at all, no oatmeal, no breads, no flours, because I wanted to make sure her body was absorbing all the other nutrition that she needed. Okay, last thing for this video is dyes. Now I will just be upfront with you. I don't really have a ton of research on them because it just doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't even know anything about it other than all the friends that will talk about like, hey, my kid goes nuts when they have dye in their system and they can't handle it. And then knowing that like parents who are dealing with children who have a diagnosis of maybe autism or another, maybe ADHD, ADD, different things like that, that they find good success not having dyes in their kids' systems. And then just like some personal testimonies from friends that I went, whoa, I should start to pay attention to that. I think when my kids would have access to dye, it would be when they had sugar. And so I would just be like, they're out of control with the sugar. But then the more closely I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, your inability to regulate yourself and regulate your emotions is lasting longer than this sugar would. And it's far worse. It's like, for me, it's the emotional dysregulation that they get when they have dyes. So now, when we are making exceptions, it's like, yeah, you can have some sugar, you can have, sometimes we've got to do seed oils because they just are in everything, goodness gracious. And so we really will be like, yeah, we're not doing that dye thing, I don't care. Like that cookie is bright red. That cake, like you're gonna have to scrape the top of that off if you want to eat it, because you're not eating that neon green food coloring that's in there. You're not gonna do that. So when we do have our, fun treats or whatever, we're very careful still with what we eat with them. So I just wanted to go back to seed oils one more time, because if you look at the landscape of our world, I think that we can look at all the gender confusion that's going on, and we can see it on one level, and people try and go like, oh, this is the reason and this is the cause. And I just would like to say that it is an attack that is so strategic. It is coming from every single level, because seed oils are endocrine hormone disruptors. They are literally disrupting the way your child's body is meant to develop, male and female, how they're meant to feel in their emotions, male and female, as well as all the women that are like, I have chronic thyroid issues, I have adrenal fatigue, all the different weight management, all these issues in our body, they are from seed oils. I mean, to the point where they go, how come people didn't get cancer from smoking back here? Oh, because seed oils weren't in their system, and the seed oils mixed with the cigarettes are what's causing this cancer bomb. The seed oils with the sun is what's causing skin cancer to explode. Like, they're on every single level. My husband used to get sunburn, like so bad, every single year, no matter how much sunscreen we put on. Different topic, we use no sunscreen. We don't use sunscreen. But he used to get burned every year so bad, until he got seed oils almost completely out of our diet, right? Like, every once in a while, it's like, yep, it's in there. Pap got us donuts, we're eating donut, like whatever the thing is, right? We get seed oils in our system. He doesn't burn anymore. He comes and lays out in the sun. He does not get burnt. My kids don't fry. Some of them used to burn more than they do now. And when I say I don't do sunscreen, that does not mean that I don't take precautions to be in the sun, but I've gone down the rabbit hole of sunscreen long enough and well enough to be like, oh, you're putting chemicals on your skin that are, again, disrupting your body's hormone systems. And when the sun hits them, they're turning into free radicals. Free radicals cause cancer. They also are shutting off your body's ability to produce melanin. Melanin is what you create to make a tan on your skin that protects you from the harmful rays. And so when you put sunscreen on, all you're doing is stopping your body's ability to get a painful burn on your skin, but you are not stopping the sun's ability to, if you've had too much exposure and you're full of seed oils, cause cancer on your skin. So I hope I've explained that all clearly, but basically we don't do sunscreen. I lived in Florida. I was a Florida mom lathering my babies up. Didn't know I was doing the wrong thing. Jesus, please help my children. Please forgive me. I'm not going to hang on to any guilt from this. Oh well, I'm doing the best I can and move along. Have a little experiment where I do lather my children up in some sort of homemade concoction that had beef tallow in it. Did that one day for the beach, and my husband was like, babe, what is happening right now? It smelled like a burger. It was so bad. We were covered in oil. It was not necessary. Now we would just like modify the amount of sun that we're in, or honestly, sometimes I'm just like, whatever, it's one day you're gonna get a little bit too much sun. It's better, like you're gonna get a little too much sun, you're probably gonna be a little burned, but you're not gonna be in pain. I'm not trying to cause my kids pain, but you're gonna be a little red, and in a day or so it's gonna fix itself. I'd much rather prefer that than lathering you up with all of these chemicals that they're not allowed to have in other countries, and it's just, yeah. So we don't do sunscreen. And seed oils, we need to avoid them at all costs. I have to share this last little piece of information I just learned the other day. You know, I talk all the time about God's gift to you of whatever you tell your kids first, whatever a child hears first into their mind, whatever the new concept is that they hear, that is truth to them. That is truth, okay? Which is why a lot of this stuff, is so alarming, the way kids are being taught about their gender and their identity and the world. It is so evil because it's truth to them. But God did that for you as a Christian parent on purpose so that you could raise up your kids in the Lord, speak the actual truth of God to them. And then when they go out in the world, everything they hear must be filtered through the pathways that you as a parent have created in truth. So this is a new pathway that I will work on developing, especially with my girls, as it goes for gender identity. So number one, when girls hit puberty, they start to develop 40% more negative thoughts than boys do, and they maintain that through their life. It's what predisposes women to depression more than to men, and it is why, one of the reasons why we're seeing so much of the things going on with women in the gender identity confusion crisis. So when a girl hits puberty, she's going to start to develop all these negative thoughts about her body, and she's not going to like the way that she looks. And if she's not told that up front before she starts to hit puberty, or when she's in the middle of what every female goes through, because it's part of being a human, going through puberty and being like, I don't like the way that I look, I don't like the way my body is developing. Like on some level, all people are experiencing that, no matter what they look like. That's just the reality of growing up, okay? And so girls that are then pushed in the direction of, oh, well, maybe you're a boy. Maybe you were meant to be a boy because you don't like the way you look and you feel awkward and you feel funny. It's an absolute, complete and total lie, right? And I'm talking about it with such enthusiasm because it's so sad to me, because children in that situation need loved on and cared for and accepted, but not by way of puberty blockers and mastectomies. Sorry, I said that wrong. Okay, whatever. It's really sad. But so I was hearing all this information and realized, oh, okay, Jesus, thank you. The truth I need to take from this situation is my kids need to know, ready? This is the analogy the Holy Spirit gave me. If you've ever had baby chicks and watched them grow into hens, this is like the perfect, or into roosters, this is the perfect analogy, because that baby chick is so adorable, okay? If you've never experienced this, just like Google teenage chicken and see what you can find. You'll know when you found it, because this baby chick is the cutest thing you've ever seen. Like, take a million pictures of it. It is so adorable. Then as it starts to go through its adolescent phase, it is the most awkward teenager ever. Like, they are so weird looking and goofy and awkward and funny looking things, and you just look at them and you're like, how are you even the same creature? You're like so goofy. And then as they mature into their adult hen and rooster life, like when I think back on the chickens we owned, they were the most beautiful things, and they were all so different, right? Girls need to understand that there are different body types that men find attractive, and it's not this cookie cutter situation. And if you don't fit into the cookie cutter, then no one's going to find you attractive. No, because there are all different types of personalities. God created everyone beautiful in their own way, and you know, puberty can be tricky, but like on the other end of that, you lean in, or even during it, you lean into the way in which God made you beautiful and stop trying to change it to be something different. And your feeling awkward is what everyone experiences and is not an indication that you need to switch. Okay, anyways, eat whole foods, eat fruits and vegetables, try and make them be organic if you can. Eat meats, try and make them pasture raised and grass fed if you can. But any meat that you can get your hands on is going to be superior to anything else you can feed your kids. So if you're in the store and you're like, man, well, what's the point? Because I can't afford this pasture raised chicken. Who cares? Get the junky chicken. It doesn't matter. It is way better still on the environment. Like, no, it's not awesome. We passed chickens the other day. I don't even want to talk about it, right? All right. Well, again, if you guys liked this video, if you found any truth, if you took something from it you can change, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you're thinking about this in the comments below. And I hope I'm not coming on too intense and too strong. Boy, I'm just passionate, okay? I hope this is easy for you to digest, though, and that there is fuel and encouragement coming through this message, as well as some serious hope to make changes. You can do it. Just start with one thing and get a handle on it. Figure out how you can modify one area of your life. keep after that thing, get it under control, and start off with whatever Jesus shows you to change next. Love you guys so much. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Until next time.